working with Vivid, and it's titled, to make sure you're on the correct one, it's titled Making Business Buzz at Vancity with OMI 10, and also 3 things IT operations always wanted for Christmas. So that is our topic. We have several speakers we'll introduce shortly. Next slide, please. Okay, and for those who do not know, very quick commercial. So Vivid is the largest user group for HP software internationally, and it's got hundreds and hundreds of chapters all over the world, and has been around for 21 years. So it's a user group. If you happen not to be a member, it's free membership, and you may want to jump on the website and take on all the valuable offerings that are available, like these webinars that we have constantly, several times a month on various topics. And everybody knows HP. Next slide. And my name is Jim Copio, and I run the Carolina chapter in the U.S., and I'm in the business service management business on a day-to-day basis, and co-run the SIG as a leader. Next slide. Okay, here's our speakers. Joe Fox, not to read off the slide, but he is the Director of Product Management for HP Software. And we're going to have him start off with some level-setting slides about what's going on out there around ops and around business service management. And then Ian Bromhead is a Senior Product Manager from HP. He will follow up with additional slides. And then the last third will be from Jay Rooney, and Jay is an analyst at Vancity, a very large savings credit union in Canada, and he'll describe that more in a bit. So we'll each have about a third of the presentation, and then at the very end, we're going to have a chance for questions from the entire audience, and we will field them one by one, and then the panelists will answer every question we can get to. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a live session, so you certainly can take notes, but if you are not able to, there will be a chance to go back in and get it from the archive. And we will send out a link for that in a couple days after this webinar for everyone to relive it or pass it on to other folks. You do need to be a member of Vivid to access that. And then, as mentioned earlier, there is a next slide, please, and I'll talk about there is a chance to ask questions. So you'll see it on the bottom left, most likely, to type in your question and hit send. And they'll be accumulated throughout the entire webinar. And then again, at the end, we'll field those questions, repeat them, and answer them the best we can from all the panelists on this call. I believe I'm going to be turning this over to Joe at this point. We can jump into this. Okay, go for it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jim. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. So again, my name is Joe Fox. I'm a Director of Product Marketing for HP Software for Business Service Management. And I'm going to kind of set the strategic context for today's presentation with an introduction to our new business service management offering. In many ways, we've sort of relaunched business service management, and it's sort of backed by some of our latest innovations. So I wanted to provide the strategic context for that and introduce BSM, and then I'll turn it over to Ian. Next slide, please. So we are really at the brink of a third major IT transformation in the industry. The first was in the 60s and 70s, which was really focused on automating activities, like the bill payment activity or an ordering activity, if you will. The second major IT transformation was in the 1980s and 90s, driven by the internet, where the automation was across those activities and across customers and partners and suppliers. So a company could, for example, automate their enterprise resource planning activities or their customer CRM system. And we're at the brink of a third major IT transformation. And this IT transformation is called digital business. And it's really about extending IT into products and into smart machines, and has the capacity to significantly increase product innovation and drive a third major transformation around innovation and productivity. And there are many different types of digital business. It's also known as the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything and the application economy. A good example that I like to give is Uber, where Uber has completely transformed and disrupted a very old industry, the taxi industry, with essentially a mobile application at the core of their business model. And they are delivering a digital business and a digital experience that is superb. The first time I used it, I landed at the airport late at night, didn't have a ride, and expected that I could download that Uber application and order a taxi service to show up at the curb after I got my bag, as I was taxiing to the gate. And that's exactly the experience that I had, that I was able to download it, I was able to use it immediately as I was taxiing to the gate when I wanted to use that service, and it met me at the baggage claim and took me home, and I never had to transfer cash or give my credit card number to the driver. And so that sort of experience is, I think, exemplifies digital business and the new economy that we are embarking on. Next slide, please. So what does it mean from a BSM standpoint? So the first implication is associated with the scale. If you think about, the internet is one circle. That was the IT universe, and then we added mobile, and that circle grew. Now with the Internet of Things, we're exponentially expanding the IT universe and things that we need to manage and the scale at which we need to manage. The second implication is associated with this experience economy and the application economy that underpins digital business, that underpins the experience that I got with Uber, which was driven by that application on my mobile device and the experience that it enabled. I didn't have to, give a credit card to the driver. I didn't have to, I was able to order that service as I was landing on the runway, and that experience is underpinned by applications. The smart, intelligent Internet of Things are driven by applications. The optimization of jet engine aircrafts from sensors on jet engines, and the optimization of wind farms, and the optimization of farming systems. A lot of the intelligence is driven by applications, and it's really an application economy driving digital business. The third implication is associated with both the scale and the real-time aspects of digital business. To deliver that experience, to identify when a customer in a store has taken a coat off of a hanger and a sensor in that hanger is driving a marketing automation system to market, what shoes go with that jacket when that consumer is in the store. Digital business is driven by digital moments that happen in real time at this massive scale, and digital business demands big data. Next slide, please. And application and infrastructure performance, stability, resiliency are critical for digital business. So this is where business service management plays a role. Application and service degradation, inefficient operations where it takes days or weeks to solve a problem, or problems don't get solved, or slow and error-prone reactions. Slow reactions to add computing capacity, slow reactions to fix a problem lead to negative business outcomes. So failures in any of those lead to negative consequences: lost revenue, customer churn, and high-cost operations. Next slide, please. Instead, what's needed is an always-on digital business where we're connecting business and IT performance and actually, managing business metrics, customer metrics, and IT metrics together and seeing those correlations. And we're predicting issues ahead of time, leveraging smart machines for IT and advanced analytics to predict issues before they impact the digital business. And we're leveraging maximum automation. Next slide, please. And if we achieve those goals, digital business can actually fuel growth. We can support revenue growth and delivering exceptional customer experience and radically improving operational efficiency, speed, and agility. Next slide, please. And the formula for an always-on digital business from a management standpoint is to sense, analyze, and adapt. Next slide, please. And, in terms of sense is about sensing everything in real time and sensors everywhere, sensors across that new IT universe from the edge to the core. Monitoring, sensing, business, customer, and IT conditions, sensing the user experience, that Uber experience, sensing business transactions across all layers and tiers of a composite application from the edge to the core, and analyzing to predict and solve. Analyzing, leveraging advanced analytics, correlations, calculations, statistics, and math, on a big data lake of data, human, business, IT data, to predict issues before services are impacted, to learn behaviors, to learn when things are going south and being able to identify that before users and digital business is impacted, and then adapting with speed and efficiency. So, once we have those, those root causes, once we understand those trends, adapting, IT to those conditions, and automating systems. So, automated cloud bursting, adding computing resources, automated horizontal scaling of computing systems to support digital business, and automating tasks for speed and efficiency, automating the restoration of services, automating the repair, automating diagnostic processes, and then automating processes for scale and repeatability. So automating the integration between the global command center and the service desk, and automating the production operations with pre-production and development, and connecting those systems to drive scale, repeatability, and quality. Next slide, please. And so HP's new business service management solution meets these requirements to support an always-on digital business and provides intelligent management for digital business across sense, analyze, and adapt, all built on a connected intelligence platform powered by Haven to provide exceptional user experience for the digital business. So this is the new BSM, the connected intelligence platform that underpins our business service management solution is powered by Haven. It's the same technology in use at Facebook with extreme scalability, and enables real-time management across the digital business. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ian, who's going to talk about the 3 things that IT always wanted for the holidays. Ian, over to you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for that introduction. And so let's go into the next phase of our webinar and look at the new things that we've been introducing over the last few days concerning the Operations Bridge and how the Operations Bridge has evolved and what features we're bringing to you and what we believe benefits those will give to you. Around this context of sense, analyze, and adapt. First off, of course, any platform which is capable of supporting the kind of evolutions that Joe has mentioned needs to have flexibility in terms of choice of where do we get data from. So this slide is just giving you some details about the capabilities of the operations bridge to support diverse methods of collecting that data and bringing it into the common platform. So on this slide we look at agentless, where we believe our solutions give tremendous scope for fastest time to value, where we can bring in metrics and events which are collected without being disruptive or without needing anything to be installed on target systems. Joe mentioned sensors, and some of our agents are now evolving to have a tremendously reduced footprint, which gives not only fast time to value, as we indicate on here, with our new sensor that's currently a part of VPV and will be extended to the VSM platform as we go forward, just has a small footprint of 5 megabytes and a 5-second install time, but is also capable of providing almost a real-time stream of information with a granularity down to a second, supporting, nevertheless, great flexibility in terms of the data which it's going to bring to the Oxbridge platform. And then the agent, the operations agent has been in your data centers if you've been using Operations Manager for many years. It's known, it's well trusted, it's reliable, has extremely robust protocol between the agent and the server, and that same agent is supported with the Operations Bridge today. So no disruption as and when you decide to evolve from Operations Manager to the Operations Bridge. But we don't stop there. Apart from those data collection methods, we fully recognize that the expansion of the digital universe that Joe mentioned means that you have choice. Customers will choose from any of these kind of technologies and more besides. And application developers, as Joe mentioned, will roll out applications on a daily and in some cases on an hourly basis. And to do that, to have that dynamic and that agility, they will choose from different technologies which will invoke different ways in which the device is interfaced to data and to logic in your applications and cloud applications. And so it's extremely important then that any management platform be capable of bringing data from those technologies of choice, be they infrastructure or application bound, be they related to the huge movement of big data, be they related to the choices which you have in terms of cloud, private, hybrid, or the forms of cloud that you want to use. And then, as Joe mentioned, also being able to link to trouble ticket systems and the IT process systems, which are highly important for people. So in this version of the Operations Bridge, I'm happy to announce that we've expanded our catalog of integrations. We offer well over 100 now, supporting most of the technologies, in fact, beyond, I think, the technologies which you see on this slide here. And the value that brings to you is that the platform, which is Operations Bridge as a solution, is going to be doing automated discovery, it's going to be doing automated monitoring, and it's going to be bringing through these different integration methods extra out-of-the-box correlation rules for the advanced analytics that Joe mentioned, as well as out-of-the-box rich domain reports, and we'll come back to that aspect a little bit later on. So we built out a lot of capabilities to improve the way in which we can use sense, but there's another aspect to sense which isn't just measurement. Sense is also related to the way in which we represent your IT landscape, because of course change will occur all the time. And so it's important that a platform that's capable of supporting all of those different third-party information sources is capable of mapping the information that's coming in to your actual IT landscape. And so announcing in this version automated service modeling, where we can point to a piece of identification information like a service URL, and then automatically drill down and populate the model which we hold in the operations bridge, and then keep that dynamically updated permanently so that we're always reflecting what changes are occurring and what depends on what in your environment. So this gives you fast time to value. The dynamic nature of the updates means that the service is as close as possible to what changes have occurred. So as new events and metrics are coming in from the monitoring we just saw, it is mapped efficiently to the devices in question. Now, at the same time, another thing we've done is to simplify modeling, because we've recognized that not everyone can necessarily jump into using the operations bridge and immediately start developing models inside their CMDB or whichever one they choose. And so we have a simple modeler as well, which helps people to do some very quick, in just a few hours, modeling of a simple service, and then map that to the events and metric data that's coming from those sense sources that we just discussed. So two new ways of building out the service model in the operations bridge. Now, we didn't stop there either, because we've listened to a lot of our customers and recognized that whilst BSM is exceedingly important in our, and I think in analysts' opinion, for keeping things live and running, we've also recognized that many people want to be able to exploit the operations bridge with faster time to value. And so we've devised, in this version of the operations bridge, version 10, we've devised a single server installation. And this is really exciting news, I think, for many of you. And Jay Rooney of Vancity will explain how he thinks that's important in his domain too. So a single server install, which has the embedded open source database, which is PostgreSQL, gives people the capacity of getting to the operations bridge. And in some cases, as the title of this slide shows you, we believe that customers can get to value operational in 30 minutes, which is a tremendous gain in install time and time to value for people. But at the same time, we've also expanded the core technology in the operations bridge, which of course is OMI, to be able to offer higher scalability, in fact 3 times more scalability in several aspects. First, in the aspect of how many devices, how many CIs can we support per OMI server is times 3, so many millions now of objects, many millions more, in fact, than was previously possible. But also in terms of the number of events per second and per day which can be supported, which is also now reaching into the 50 million mark. At the same time, the same server software that's installed on a single server is also usable, if needed, in a distributed fashion, where each of these blue boxes, as we say here, could be an IMI server, if organizational constraints force people to need that kind of capability. The same software is capable of scaling to suit the demands which you have in your environment. Now, the next dimension that I want to discuss here is the advanced analytics that we offer with the operations bridge. And you can see the kind of domains that we are offering here. And I'll explain a little bit more detail how we offer these aspects. First, we dynamically update the service topologies, as I mentioned. Next, we use the topology to be able to govern how we can help people to see which event is the event that needs IT's attention versus symptoms, which really are wasting time for if the operations staff spend too much time on them. We offer multiple types of correlation, whether that's time or stream-based correlation, or whether that's based on correlation rules. If you remember, I mentioned a couple of slides ago, some of those rules are now provided by the integration methods out of the box to enrich your platform and give faster access to root cause analysis using the service model. But we don't stop there. We've also now bundled into the operations bridge ultimate version our predictive analytics capability, which is going to be using any metric from the operations bridge, whether it comes from native sensors or whether it comes from third-party sensors, to learn what is normality and then detect using stochastic methods how the current pattern of events shows that the metric is showing that there's an anomaly. So learning normal behavior and then using patterns gives people ahead of time an indication that some form of analogous behavior is being exhibited, predicts issues so that IT can react to those issues before any service degradation is actually detected by users or is impacting transaction throughputs. And the last aspect of analysis here is the platform itself. The operations bridge is capable of looking at how you are deploying and using the operations bridge. It now has a rich exploration map which actually shows people here's where you are in the deployment of the operations bridge, and specifically OMI in this case, and then suggests the next step or steps that would be normal in a workflow usage of the operations bridge platform to help you get more value faster from the platform and guide operators to what they should be doing. So what have we done? We've provided stronger capabilities to analyze and uncover root cause. And we bring now into the operations bridge, with version 10, new features which were available independently are now bundled into the product. First, log intelligence. We've heard from people over the years, and we created a means for you to be able to centralize your log files and then search and do some analytics into those log files to find entries which might be able to help you see where the true root cause is and look at the events and the metrics in the operations bridge correlated at the same time with the syslog entries. Next, we've provided richer correlation, and as I mentioned, out-of-the-box correlation rules which are domain-specific according to the integration technology in question. And of course, correlation time, stream, or topology-based is meant to be helping you to sift through the different domains that you have events for, network applications, etc., and then use the dependency graphs to understand where is the most likely cause versus identifying symptoms. And finally, as I mentioned, we brought into the operations bridge 2 the capability of offering to everyone predictive capabilities for proactive management. Now, there's not just those aspects of analysis in the new OpsBridge platform. We've also added something which we find is really exciting for customers that they've been asking for a while, which is a capability for the platform to self-measure how well you're doing with respect to return on investment. It may be related to the number of events which your operators are capable of working against, but also the event reduction with respect to what was there before. And since in many cases we find that our customers are experiencing significant event reduction once they implement the operations bridge, either with or without Operations Manager as an underlying platform, then this new ROI dashboard helps people to see just what kind of value they're experiencing and probably more pertinently, be accountable for that and communicate it to the business stakeholders and to the CEO and CIO. So new ROI dashboard clearly marking, I think, improvement to the operations bridge. Also, in the operations bridge Ultimate Edition, we are providing well over 200 reports. Everyone does reporting, we know that, and reporting is often done with simplistic tools such as Excel. In our case, we offer in the operations bridge cross-domain reporting and forecasting, bundled into the operations bridge, be it Premium or Ultimate Edition. Difference herein is that with the Ultimate Edition, we also offer a lot of our IP, a lot of the experience we've gained by working with customers over the years, and provide well over 200 reports out of the box. And finally, subject matter experts, well, they're valuable, but they're rare, and they may not always be close to where operators need their assistance. And so providing the capability of getting access to the operations bridge dashboards from popular tablet devices is something which we've enriched in the operations bridge. And so what about adapt? Joe spoke about sense and about analyze, and adapt is at least applying automation to try and help IT to remove repetition, but also to remove human error, which, as we all know, can very easily occur. So the operations bridge provides the means to automate, which gives us resiliency. It gives us the capability of reducing the number of errors which may be occurring due to manual intervention. It increases operational efficiency and gives the means to get the business back on track so much faster. And so we provide these dimensions of automation, auto-scaling, we provide task automation, and I'm happy to announce that with Operations Bridge version 10, we are bundling in the industry-leading orchestration platform, which is called HP Operations Orchestration, directly with the Operations Bridge. That means that people will be able to apply the upwards of 5,000 different runbooks for workflow automation of popular tasks right directly from the Operations Bridge when they purchase it. So we also adapt with speed and accuracy. As I mentioned, we're bundling in Operations Orchestration in the Ultimate Edition of Operations Bridge, which means that people will do some of those things that Joe mentioned earlier, which are key, such as executing remedial actions, which are being predetermined and pre-configured, to bring a service back online, to add a resource which is otherwise requiring manual intervention, so that we're also automating scale. But also that process dimension, right? Because changes need to be occurring, but when a change does occur, processes are important to you, so that you can have a rollback and also audit accountability of who is responsible for making the changes in question. But we also adapt through monitoring automation. Monitoring automation for composite applications is something which we offered previously. We're now bundling that into our Operations Bridge version 10. And it's an increasingly attractive value proposition, I think, for you, as Jay will mention later on, and many of our other customers are using this today, since it automates and makes sure that any new IT resource, be that a simple database, be that a new app, or be it a composite combination of a web server farm, an application, back-end connectivity maybe to a mainframe app, all of those aspects need to be monitored. And what we found over the years is actually corroborated in a survey which we completed just about a month ago, where we see that people typically call out the fact that there's between a week to 3 months between the moment when new apps and new composite infrastructure components are rolled out, between 1 week to 3 months before monitoring is activated. And we know you can look on the internet and see certain cases of disasters which have occurred because IT simply didn't get to the stage where monitoring was actually deployed. Those days are gone when you apply monitoring automation, and of course what happens here is that we discover instances of those important IT resources, then automate the process of rolling out the templates and activating the monitoring using best practice templates. What this also does, though, and I think it's important to recognize, monitoring automation also gives those subject matter experts access to change parameters about the monitoring. Since they're the experts really of the app or the DB or the comp app in question, we really should be giving them access to be able to change the parameters according to the instance that's being rolled out and maybe the geographical or organizational context that it finds itself in. Well, this is pretty easy with the monitoring automation capabilities that we provide, and it means that the subject matter experts do not need to know details about the underlying tools, be they agentless or agent-based, to be able to execute those parameter changes. So once again, accelerating and giving people the capability of adapting with speed and accuracy to the changing situation. Finally, monitoring automation gives us a fast and easy and very accurate picture of how things are going, how things are being monitored, and how changes have been occurring. That can be pretty important from a sharing perspective with people responsible for application design, application testing, and facilitates then a DevOps capability where we can provide feedback to improve the way in which things are instrumented in the future. So sense, analyze, and adapt, we believe, is very strongly supported by the new Operations Bridge version 10. And what I've done here is to give you also a preview picture of Operations Bridge version 10 using IMI. What you see here is a brand new, what I think is pretty beautiful, exciting HTML5 dashboard that's called KPI over time. And what it's doing is allowing you to roll back in time and have a look at the health of your services, your applications, your web server farms, your databases, wind back over time and have a look at a quick perception of when did issues start to occur and also do some calculations, as you can see here on the right-hand side of this screenshot, that show how often has the service been out of scope in terms of an SLA or in terms of general performance that's expected from it. But that's not all. Because we've re-engineered the way in which we provide navigation across standard operator functions, we also have 10x faster navigation. And what that means basically is that for certain functions between the event appearing and the incident being fully repaired and service being restored, in some cases that could have defined 20 or 30 clicks. Well, in the majority of cases now, those are done in just 2 or 3 clicks, giving tremendous acceleration and stronger value. So why Operations Bridge? Well, Sense, Analyze, and Adapt. We've been through most of these aspects, so it's just recapping. From a Sense perspective, we are gaining more data from 100+ different integrations, bringing data from your existing tools into the Operations Bridge for that all-important advanced analytics capability, and then applying automation to fix issues. We're providing more power by bringing in the capability of using log intelligence as well as prediction capabilities, and also extending out the Operations Bridge reach to big data platforms, which are increasingly important mission-critical clusters these days. And the adaption. So I mentioned the workflows and the inclusion of operations orchestration, but also the exploration map. And please don't forget that the Operations Bridge has, since version 9.20, included something called gamification, which I know some of the customers that we have today find is motivating their operators to dig deep and develop faster best practices for the best for the execution of operational efficiency. Now, what I wanted to do before we have a look at evolution of your platform is just give you a quick browse of 4 different solutions that you can use the Operations Bridge for that I think are increasingly important in this day and age of the digital universe that you mentioned. And here's one which is related to automating cloud service management. So here, as you can see, we have an aspect of a cloud platform being used. A new cloud service is being published to the catalog, which means that people can subscribe to it. Now, when they do subscribe to it, the cloud platform is going to assign IT resources, and those resources ought to be managed because, of course, nothing in the business that can impact the business should remain unmanaged. So the Operations Bridge can be loaded automatically with the definitions of those IT resources and what they depend on and the service in question. And then, of course, once we have that definition in our tree, then we automate monitoring deployment to the platform. And hey presto, we're managing automatically the clouds that you've been subscribed to. Solution methods you can use today to do that are, for example, if you are using CSA, Cloud Services Automation, then we have a service pipe which allows us to load into the runtime service model the service definition. But alternatively, if you use the management pack, which sits on the agent and talks to OMI, then the management pipe will do the same job. It will discover for Amazon EC2 as well as HP Cloud Services those exact same service definitions and the IT definitions of what's supporting the service. Here's another aspect of cloud solutions I think might be important to you, and that's HP Helion, which some of you may be deploying. Helion is both capable of providing private and public cloud platforms and supports OpenStack, as you probably know. In that context, you can either connect to HP Helion through a management pipe, which we supply, but also through the fast, becoming more and more popular Monasca interface to the OpenStack interface. So that also gives us the means then to provide the connectivity between the IaaS or PaaS services that you're declaring using Helion to the business that it's supporting through the Operations Bridge capabilities. Now here's another one. Big data is becoming very important. In HP Discover 2 weeks ago, we met quite a few people who told us that they're rolling out big data. And you know, Hadoop is becoming more and more important. So we've worked hard on working on ways to support Hadoop directly. And we've actually integrated the Hortonworks data platform. Hortonworks is a reference with respect to Hadoop distributions. And we've created a brand new connector for Apache Ambari, which is a resource workload manager on top of Hadoop. And that means then that we can govern how We discover those resource workflows from Ambari and import them directly into our operations bridge, and then apply the same techniques that you've seen so far in this webinar: advanced analytics, tickets, and remediation. But we do also have a direct connection to Hadoop through a management pack, and with respect to big data, then we also have management packs for SAP HANA as well as Vertica. So a pretty rich portfolio of solutions that you can exploit if you're rolling out big data platforms. Now finally, people ask us, how about OneView? OneView is relatively new but increasingly important to people who are purchasing server storage, network, and power systems from HP. And so I'm happy to announce here too that we had direct integration from the operations bridge and pulling data from the OneView physical management platform in the form of events, metrics, and topology, which once again means that we can sense, analyze, and adapt changes which are happening in the physical platform, and then govern how that is impacting business, alert operators for remedial action if those remedial actions are required on the physical side. So a lot of capabilities I hope you can see from the operations bridge. And a lot of our customers are calling out amazing benefits that they've obtained. In the case of Vodafone, in the case of Cubitek, and red here, you can see some of those dimensions of benefits that they are obtaining. And that leads us to talk with you, potentially, if you're using Operations Manager, about a new program. A new program which is going to help you, not force you, but to help you to consider how you might move from OM to the Operations Bridge. And this new program is not a force function whatsoever. Despite what certain people might say on their blogs, we are not announcing discontinuance of OMW or OMU, which will be around for years to come. But we think you need to get the advantages that we've just exposed of the Operations Bridge. And so, looking at the investment protection, while you use the same collectors, those sensors that I mentioned at the beginning that you've probably been using and are trusted in your data center, are the same collectors for OMI. You're going to get license entitlement. So if you have a full support contract on your OM installation, then very soon now we'll be offering entitlement to Operations Bridge. Simple evolution, we've been working for the last year with well over 50 customers on a selection perspective, and we've developed step-by-step guides to help people see how they would migrate their policies to policies for OMI, and evolution tools to help you do it at your pace. And of course, those benefits that I mentioned are immense, but here's one benefit that we saw with one customer in Prague, where in fact they've done this so well that they've actually switched off completely OM now. OMI is the only solution they're using for their Operations Bridge in production, and they have been for several weeks now. And so the evolution looks like this. If you own Operations Manager, then you will be entitled to the Operations Bridge Premium, which gives you the things that we've shown today: single pane of glass, but also adaptive event management, dynamic service health, automated monitoring, and you can also upgrade from the Premium to the Ultimate, which gives you access to TBEC, to the log intelligence I mentioned, to the operations orchestration platform, as well as the predictive analytics. And some of those customers have started in their journey. I mentioned GE Money, but there's others too, such as Schlumberger and KMD. And you can see on this slide here that it's gone very smoothly for them, and they're very pleased with the results that they're gaining from this platform. So hopefully you see the excitement that's coming from a lot of our customers now who saw with us 2 weeks ago the introduction of the new Operations Bridge version 10. But what I'd like to do now is to invite Jay to come on board and explain to us who Vancity is and how they're using the Operations Bridge. Jay, over to you.
Thank you, Ian. Next slide there, please. Hi there, folks. So my name is Jay Rooney. I'm a member of the core infrastructure team here at Vancity Savings Credit Union. I've been here for the last 4 years, and the core infrastructure team is, we're responsible for all things monitoring, Unix admin, SAN, and backup, basically of the entire infrastructure, but primarily we concern ourselves with our core, what we call the core banking environment. A little bit about myself. Basically, I'm the archetypical geek, and I also have a 3-year-old that consumes a fair bit of my time. Before I joined Vancity, I was responsible for the monitoring of the 2010 Winter Games here in Vancouver. And before that, I was a lead engineer at Critical Accounts at SAP for 8 years. Next slide, please. So a little bit about Vancity. We're the largest credit union in Canada. We have 64 branches, roughly 400,000 members, also about 7 corporate offices on top of that as well. And we provide full banking and financial services, because not only are we a credit union, we also are a full-service bank as well. Our transformation here is what we're actually doing at the moment is migrating off of our current old legacy platform that's been in production for the last 14 years. Our infrastructure is growing from roughly 467 servers to about 1,000 plus we're anticipating over the next couple of years. Our data size, of course, growing just on the backup side, roughly 30% per year, but obviously with the growth in server size, our data size grows pretty much exponentially. We're also moving from Operations Manager to the Operations Bridge, full BSM. On top of that, and on top of moving from Operations Manager, we also have a large number of third-party tools there, NetScout, SCOM, Cisco UCS, ArcSight ESM, and Logger. So, next slide, please, Ian. So this slide here talks a little bit about, or shows a little bit about our current environment. Right now, we're primarily, or massively virtualized. Probably about 97% plus are all ESX and Hyper-V environments. Our core banking app is called RFS. It's developed in-house here. That's primarily HPUX on that side, mind you. Some of our applications include ATM, point of sales, web banking applications as well. These are across a rather large geographical span, goes from the west coast of Canada all the way out to some corporate offices out on the east coast. Basically, if you were to sort of take that and place it in a map of Europe, it would pretty much cover the entirety of Europe, plus some. Our currently managed landscape, right now these are the products that we have in use. OMW 9.1, that actually came from migrated from OMU as well. And right now, yeah, we've got about, on BSM, we actually have about 17 to 20 concurrent users that actually currently, between our help desk and our operators, that are actually primarily using Operations Bridge. Our agents are a mix, basically, of 11.11 and 11.14. We also have NNM 10.1, Service Manager 9.34, UCMDB 10.11, Service Health Reporter, SiteScope 11.20, and BPM. Just to talk a little bit about what you see on the diagram there, essentially the UCMDB we do utilize universal discovery. We have probes that go out and basically discover any new environments that have been added daily, and basically with the UCMDB, what we actually use that for, it's actually integrated back into our Service Manager environment and into our current BSM RTSM environment. Okay, so yeah, just to talk a little bit about that, basically the UCMDB, we'll come to it a little bit. Basically, its views, basically it's the sort of single pane of truth for our environment, and we use it for our service catalog and all that sort of bit. Next slide, please. So some of our experiences, or my experiences with OMI 10, I'd have to say that it's actually much quicker than the current BSM experience for where possible anyway. It's been moved over to HTML5. So I found navigation is actually much quicker, and there's also been some improvements in the UI that make it a fair bit quicker. The executive dashboards, they're cleaner, a bit easier to build, and basically the total time to install is actually much quicker. Takes roughly about 20 minutes or so to stand up a new environment. It's pretty quick. The other thing that I actually liked was the split from the OMI from the BSM stack as well. And it also gives us a nice place to basically put everything into a single pane of glass between OM and BSM. The monitoring automation, what we found in that is once you've actually migrated everything from OMW or OMU or OML, I guess, it's actually a fair bit quicker to actually automate and deploy your monitoring policies and whatnot for a lower OpEx, lower admin overhead once you've done the initial work. Is actually quite a bit simpler. So I like that. The other point is on the templates. If you actually utilized your UCMDB or I guess RTSM as well, it allows you to automate your monitoring policies and whatnot as according to your business service model. So in other words, if you build a view saying, for example, this is my web banking application and these are all the pieces that make it up, if you add a new server to that and it gets actually discovered, with the monitoring automation, you don't actually have to go and say, okay, these are the policies that I want to actually deploy in that host. It'll automatically discover them and push that out. So it's pretty nice. And I haven't actually experienced any issues with that whatsoever. The PostgreSQL, I like the flexibility on that. Basically, because if you're using a Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle, as everybody knows, getting those resources at the time you might need them to create a new instance or whatnot, not always there. So with the embedded Postgres, because it can to basically control the resources that we might need. And the global IDs, that again, I think I've talked about that probably enough, just talks back to the UCMDB being the sole and universal discovery being basically the source of truth of a CI's ID, basically, throughout your landscape. Next slide, please. That's pretty much it for me. Thanks, folks.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Joe, Jay, Ian. Hopefully you're not hearing an echo. So we promised we kind of roll into the Q&A. There actually are quite a few questions, and we have limited time, so I may speak a little fast here. But the three panelists, whoever can answer the question best, definitely jump in. So Jim Miller has a question. Let me pull that up. Are other external databases, example Oracle, supported instead of PostgreSQL?
Yes, I can answer that. This is Ian. Yes, we do support with the operations bridge, actually version 9 already, multiple types of databases, SQL Server in particular, Oracle in particular enterprise editions of those databases. Postgres is a new addition to that.
Okay, hopefully that answers it. Thank you so much, Ian. Next question from Guy Dunham. Do we have a migration path from OMI 9.24 in the BSM 9.24 to OMI 10?
Okay, yep, everyone has his own migration path, of course, because no two customer situations are the same. But in terms of best practices and guides, I think I did show a slide earlier on when I mentioned the new program, which is called OM to Ops Bridge Evolution. That program is full of guides, best practices, returns on experience from those 50 customers I mentioned that we've been working with over the last year to help devise the optimum migration path for each customer.
And yeah, just to speak to it a little bit, it is a bit simpler than I've seen in previous versions as well, like for example with the SDR and whatnot. So it's been streamlined.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, cool. Thank you. This actually is a question for Jay, I believe, from Alan Forget. Do you pulling SCOM perf data into OMI BSM? I think I read that wrong.
If he's asking what I believe, no, it's primarily metrics in most cases, but we do pull in some performance metrics as well from SCOM.
Okay, and kind of a follow-on is, are there any limitations or best practices you can share, Jay?
Well, about the only thing I can, no real limitations that I've actually bumped into. One of the things that I found with the connector, it's actually, it's pretty powerful because under the covers, SCOM is all XML, is how it's controlled if you actually extract the management packs and all the rest of it. So the connector allows you to do quite a bit with that XML. So I haven't found any limitations. Best practices, best thing that I can say on that is hopefully that your SCOM environment, that your Active Directory and all that is firm. In other words, you've got a strong DNS. Otherwise, you can have some fun getting matching up your events to CIs. And other than that, the biggest problem I found with it would be just the amount of noise that SCOM sort of out of the box generates way too many events of a critical nature that really are not, at least in my experience. Hopefully that answers.
Thank you.
Just to add to what Jay's mentioned, Jim, if I may,
Sure.
and that is that OMI 10 carries a new connector platform. So we have streamlined the way in which connectors are deployed, and we know from people like Jay and some of his colleagues in the industry that that connector platform is much more efficient than it was in the past too.
Yep.
Thank you, Ian. Jim Miller's pretty busy today. He has a second question. Any management packs or connectors to ArcSight, Splunk, or any of the CIEM solutions?
Yes, so management packs, I think you mentioned Splunk. We can use a generic one for that. And actually our operations analytics platform sits on top of Splunk and brings in data as well, so both the OpsBridge and the operations analytics platform. The other elements of that question, Jim, were?
I was asking about ArcSight also.
Oh, ArcSight, yeah. Yeah, so we have a connector already. The connector hasn't changed with Operations Bridge version 10, but the connector is there already for ArcSight Logger.
Okay, and then the last part of that was just any of the security, the SIEM solution vendors, any connectors there?
So, you know what we find when we've discussed with customers over the years is that still, even today, SecOps and IT Ops are still kept separate in many people's cases. So we haven't had a strong demand to bring in security information into the bridge. But that is something which I think is it does actually raise an interesting point. I wonder if Jay has any comments on what's happening in Vancity with respect to the way in which you either segregate or integrate security and ops data.
A good chunk of it is separate. Obviously, it has to be. It's financial data, at least in our experience. But the other thing that we are that we're in the process of investigating and deploying is actually using ArcSight and some other tools that we have, putting them into the operations bridge to alert on security events. So I don't know if that really answers. For us, it's still separate, but we are planning on pulling in basically what we believe would be relevant events on the operator side so the appropriate people can be notified. This includes things for us like fraud, zero-day security flaws, that kind of thing.
And Jim, just to add to that, those responses we gave to Mr. Miller, the link I'm showing at the bottom of this slide, HP Live Network, is a live link, so people will be able to click on that. And when you do click on it, you'll go to a repository where you see all of the connectors, all of the management packs with details of what they do and how they work, as well as download.
Perfect. We're going to continue with questions, everyone, but I do see it's the top of the hour. So if you can hang for another 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to roll through the rest. If you cannot, again, you'll see a link for this archive webinar so you can play it over again. And again, there's on the current slide in front of you, there's some great links. So let's continue with the questions for those who can stay. I have one from Craig Hassig, and the question is, how many other HTML5 dashboards are there in version 10? And the second part of that, can you create your own, like the My BSM page in version 9?
Yes. So the answer is yes. You can create mashups inside of Operations Bridge 10 or My 10. And how many other ML dashboards?
I don't have an answer for that either.
No.
I haven't counted
How
them. There's a number
I'm not
of
sure what the question is pointing at. I mean, KPI over time is one brand new addition that we've brought into IM10. The rest of the dashboards in IM10 or more or less what people would be used to if they are using OMI 924 or 925. But of course, many of them now have been re-engineered to navigate faster and to use HTML5.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This may be for Stephanie. This is from Tim McGee. He does make a good point. These particular slides in front of everyone, they're not live links. So he was wondering how to deal with that.
Good question. The live links will be on the group page on the Vivid website, and they'll receive the link to that in the next few days, and they'll also be on the follow-up email as well.
Okay. All right. So Tim, when you get all that, they'll be live on those slides when you pull them down and go to the website. Awesome. Awesome. Andrew Cornwall asks, when will OMI 10 be available for download?
So we fully expect OMI 10 to be ready for download in the January timeframe, towards the middle or end of January.
Awesome. That's not too far away. And Ashish has a question about OMI 10. Does that require a separate license? So I'm not sure I understand the question, but
a separate license to what? I don't know. If the person is using OM and he's got a support contract, then he will be identified, and he will, once the OM to Oxbridge program is activated, then he will be entitled to a license for Oxbridge Premium. Otherwise, if he's not using OM and doesn't have that support contract, then I'll invite him to talk to his salesperson.
okay. Thank you. And Sumit Kumar asks, can we use Sitescope 11X with OMI 10 without BSM?
No. Well, I don't know. That might be better for Ian. There are ways to do it, but out of the box, Sitescope's been separated from OMI, which is actually a very good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, we certainly heard that from a lot of customers. So I'm afraid I don't have the technical answer to that question. As a sensor, I believe that Sitescope is supported by OMI 10, but which version is required and which service pack is required, I don't have the details to that. But please capture the question, Jim, and I'll get back to that person with the answer.
We will. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is great. We just have a ton of questions. Jürgen Grund has a question. Will Sitescope substitute with OMI 10? Oh, well, wait, well, SiteScope substituted with OMI 10. I'm not sure I understand that question either.
I think the answer is the same. I suspect that those questions are the same.
Okay.
You can still have SiteScope. I'm not sure if this helps, guys, but yes, you still can have SiteScope forward events to OMI. The biggest difference is, for example, on the BSM side, on OMI 10, there is no profile database. That comes through still what's called through what you would call BSM today, which is just to clarify my previous statement.
Right. Thank you. Here's a good question. It's good to see the OM2 OpsBridge program mentioned. What about people who use PI and Reporter?
Yep, obviously we recognize that people have been using OM for many years. Probably we're using Performance Insight and OV Reporter. And so I'm happy to say that for people who are interested in PI migration, then there's a full program already detailed with a lot of resources in terms of best practice guides and many other things to help people see how they can replace PI and PI reports with SHR reports, SHR of course being a core component of the OpsBridge. And so those are all on our website. If you have any difficulty, contact me or contact your salesperson or your partner, depending on who you're referring to. Reporter will also, we're also supporting migration of Reporter to SHR in the OpsBridge version 10 release.
Perfect. Yeah, I see we're 7 after the hour. We just have so many questions. We'll go about 2 or 3 more and then we'll wrap up. And but we did capture all the questions. Okay, this one is you presented. The presentation showed a capability to predict. Is that something included in OpsBridge, and what data does it work on?
Good question. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, the capacity to analyze, as Joe was mentioning, is fundamental. And so we've added into the Operations Bridge Ultimate Edition, right? So hopefully you captured from today's presentation, there are 2 editions of OpsBridge 10. One is Premium and one is Ultimate. And the Ultimate Edition includes our Service Health Analyzer product, which works on top of any metric which is actually in the Operations Bridge 9. So, you know, whether that metric's coming from a native connector, as we discussed in the Fence slide, or whether it's coming in from a third-party product, as Jay was mentioning, from Scrum or Nagios, then those metrics can be made available to SHA through BSM9.
Perfect, thank you. Let's do 2 more and we'll wrap up. In your big data management solution, what's the advantage of linking Ambari open source to your solution?
Well, yeah, so Ambari is new and was actually part of the Hadoop, the last Hadoop distribution. Ambari is a resource, it's a generic way of managing resource and workflows across a Hadoop platform. And so the advantage here of getting it interfaced to the OpsBridge is, of course, that the OpsBridge has the capability of connecting dependencies from the big data cluster that's managed by Ambari up to the IT and or business services that are resident and being supported by that big data cluster. And we see a lot of customers are increasingly now rolling out Hadoop, even though it's an open source platform. I noticed very recently, if you do a Google, you'll see that American Express has got huge data centers where they've rolled out Hadoop. And that's a pretty good endorsement for the technology itself. But of course, an entity like American Express would want to link the health of their transactions down to the things it depends on. Hadoop is a cluster, so yeah, of course there's resilience built into a cluster of that nature, but there are some extremely important definitions which are resident on certain types of nodes in the cluster. And if any of those goes down, then your big data is at risk, and you need to know which business is going to be at risk as well. So it's that important linkage, Jim, between business services and IT services and what Hadoop is supporting that we get through the Ambari integration.
Good, great answer. Thanks, Ian. Let's do one more question. This is to Jay at Vancity. Can Vancity elaborate a little more on the flexibility that they see in OMI version 10? In quotation marks, he mentioned a split, and how they see that helping drivers better service IT?
So one of the things that we've experienced here with BSM throughout the years, I mean, we started with BAC and PI and all that sort of stuff way back in the days, some of the stuff that I inherited. As HP adds more functionality into BSM, more connectors and whatnot, what I found is that sometimes support times, in other words, support time resolutions, for example, if you have an issue in BSM, can take some time to find the right resource simply because the product is so large. For example, are you using BPM? You know, what's going on where with the split basically from OMI separated from BPM, those sort of pieces. One of the issues, or at least the simplification there, is on the support side of things. Should help in that regards. But the big thing really that we found is what it really does allow, version 10 versus, for example, OM and the rest of the suite, is that it gives you essentially a single pane of glass into your monitoring policies. We didn't really have any slides that could show it too terribly well, but it's quite easy to see what host, at a glance, what host has what policies installed on it, as well as what the parameters for those policies are. So it adds a fair bit of flexibility there, and especially utilizing your RTSM views, whether or not they come from the UCMDB or wherever else. So just quicker and easier to deploy, and it should actually simplify, hopefully, any support issues you might have. Should be clear on where the problem lies.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Last slide, please. I believe one more. Thank you, slide. So we went way over our SLA. We're 13 minutes past. So we're going to conclude this. Again, there is no reason not to get answers between getting the links and some of the Q&A. You have your sales folks to call on, or your partners, or anyone on this call. We can connect the dots. So we want to make sure you continue the journey and you get all the answers you need. The products are just maturing so nicely with the new environments that were brought up earlier by Joe that everybody's facing with. So thank you one and all. Have happy holidays, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thank you, Jay, very much for being on the call today with us and explaining. Thank you, Jay.
No problem. Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. Cheers.
Okay, bye.